I'm here to talk to you guys about energy thieves. So basically, what an energy thief is, I mean, if you really just like you could think about it right now. It's one of those things that you could just think about from hearing it for the first time and just know exactly what I'm saying. But you don't know exactly what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying though. You know what an energy thief is. You can even think back to yourself because this is a natural thing. But that's the problem. The problem is the thievery of it, right? So so the deception when somebody takes your energy just to go make it somewhere else. So like an idea, if you give an idea, right? You got to hide your energy from these people, right? Because you shouldn't really be trusting these people and you're giving them ideas. But if you got an idea, right? And you know, you're speaking to one of your friends that you trust and you want to lock him into this idea, but instead he goes behind your back, right? He says, "Yeah, bro, I talk to you in a little bit. I see if it's cool." Like a week later, your project up on some shit. I don't know how you feel me, but you see him doing your project by himself after telling you that he'll lock in with you in a week, or he gonna think about it. Now he's there. You feel me? By himself doing a project, and it's taking off. It's a good project. It's a fun project, right? But now here's the thing: it's not his project. He gonna feel all the love and admiration for something that's not his, and something that you mean. It never really brings everything for that person because it's when you don't make it your energy. Now in that example, to be quite honest, I don't think somebody taking your idea is really a bad thing. But if they refuse to even acknowledge you, I think that is the bad thing. Because to be quite honest, somebody could take your idea and make it way better than you would have ever made it, right? But in my opinion, that would have been, you feel me, a good transfer of energy. But not if you were intending to collaborate with said person. Because obviously you've seen that he would be good at it, and that's why you collaborated with him. And there's something that you may have been good in that project too, but he's missing those. So maybe y'all full collaboration would have made even more. But now he did it by himself because he wanted all the money, he wanted whatever, wanted all the recognition. You feel me? But he did complete the project. You just came with the idea. You got to accept that too, right? You got to accept that. That's the sad thing about energy stealing, that you got to accept that it happened, or you got to accept when you see it, bro, because you allowed it. When somebody looks you in the eyes, makes you feel bad, and they feel good about themselves, you allowed that to happen. Why do you even feel bad that he looked you in your eyes, or she looked you in your eyes? Why would you feel bad about that? He's just looking. Niggas look around all day. Why would you be upset about that, right? There are certain things that could easily take your energy if you don't, one, know how to protect it, because to protect your energy is just to protect yourself. You feel me? Just to make sure that you're not getting too upset at things. Make sure that you're not too mad at things. Like, make sure you're not getting too sad. Just, I said upset already, but make sure you're not getting too happy either. Because when you're really, 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 really protecting yourself, then you want peace. You don't want to be happy. You don't want to be sad. You want to be right in the middle. You want peace, right? But how is that possible when you got people always trying to take your energy, always actively? Because look, here's one thing about peace, right? Because the peace comes from within. So then they can't take what's within you. So if they can't take the peace or the calmness away from you, what are they going to take? everything that affects that peace and calmness. So you have to completely detach from everything to actually completely avoid these energy thieves. You have to detach from everything possible, right? You have to detach from your own emotions, other people's emotions, the way that other people feel. Well, that is other people's emotion, my fault. Actions. But as humans, that is impossible. You have to keep moving to live. If I sit here forever, not even forever, but if I sit here for 10 days, bro, my body is going to be accustomed to sitting and want to sit. Literally, like, it's going to adapt to that and it's going to destroy itself simply because that's exactly what I'm doing. If I decide to sit in one place for 10 days straight, it's not going to want to get up. It's going to feel weird getting up. Might not even be able to get up if I sat in the same place for 10 days straight. But our body irritates us, makes your back start hurting, makes your butt start hurting, makes other things start hurting. So then you get up and you move. So inherently, it's hard to avoid energy thieves. People that, take your energy is hard. Because if they can't take from what's within, right? Then they gotta take what's around or they gotta affect what's around, right? Now that's when it comes around to generous people. Now, when you're a generous person, or you don't even have to feel generous, but if you think about things and then you act on that said generosity more than you act on the meanness or the selfishness, then you turn are a generous person, right? Now, here's the bad thing about generous people too. They talk too much. I could tell you that, you know. So when you become generous, you start to speak too much. You start to tell people where they're wrong. You try to bring out the truth when you're genuinely generous because you're trying to be kind. You're trying to not be nice. It's not really about being nice. It's never really about being nice to people. Because, I mean, unless you have to be nice to people, like, it's nothing wrong with being, it is something wrong with being mean to people, but there's nothing wrong with being truthful to people, right? But in the world, it is. Why? You got to keep moving. They got to take your energy. But as I said, right, the inherent problem isn't the taking of the energy. Because look, it, when you transfer something, you take it. But it's the indirect, it's the lies, it's the other stuff. So when they can't affect you inside, they start to affect things outside. So if you have a close connection with them, they're going to start affecting your connection with them. Because if you have peace, even with these connections, that means that you only have peace with these connections because these connections are at a perfect point in time and they may have been at that time for a decent amount of time. So now you feel peaceful, right? Until something disrupts that. Then you're reminded that you cannot be attached to things, right? But you can though, because that's part of the fun. Because as I said, if you want to be calm, you got to get rid of the happiness and the sadness. It's not just one or the other. The excitement and the non-excitement. You got to get rid of it, or you got to indulge in them equally, right? So when you're doing the perfect balance, when you're balancing, when you're leaning this, when you're leaning over here, you start to lean over here more. When you're leaning more over here, you start to lean over here more. When you're genuinely balancing, then they can't damage you, right? Because you're on the but you're walking perfectly on the balance beam, right? So then what are they going to do? They're going to shake the balance beam. You're walking perfectly. Why would they try to affect you in your mind? Because in your mind, you're walking perfectly. You're on the balance beam, you're balancing correct. So why would they actually try to affect inside of your mind? Why wouldn't they start to shake the beam instead? Because that's so much easier. First of all, that's probably the first thing that they'll do is shake the beam. Because most of the time when you have the piece, they actually can't get into your mind at all. Because the piece, when you're actually balancing correctly, I think that the balancing by indulging in both of them equally is the correct one. But I do think that it may dissuade peace probably. It may take away the peaceful part. But if you're balancing correctly, I do think that you start to feel peace. Can see that I'm the one walking on the beam. See, here's the thing. For them to shake your beam, they have to step off of theirs. They have to step off of their balance to come shake your balance. Think about that. So rather than look at your technique at walking and balance themselves on their balance beam, they're going to say, hey, you're walking good. I can't walk good. Shake, shake, shake. So, examples of messing with your balance beam: lying to you, taking things from you, stealing, essentially deception, anything that's not truth, basically, in my opinion. Because when it's not truth, then you question it. Truth can be questioned, but it will be proven eventually. When it's not truth, you're going to have to keep questioning it over and over and over and over and over. And once you question it over and over and over and over and over, you're going to start questioning yourself because you're like, why am I questioning this so much? Right? But really, what do? You step off of your balance beam and no, you don't go on their balance beam to help them. Here's the point. Because it's all from your perspective. So if you really try to help them, what are you doing? You step off of your balance beam and you say, hey, you can try on mine. Or they automatically just think, hey, let me get on their balance beam. He got off, let me get on. No, I only got off because you were shaking my shit so much. And I gotta help myself. I gotta help you to help myself because you're fucking shit up. You're fucking shit up, bro. I gotta help you to help myself because you're messing my shit up. Now, when you're a generous person, you already realize that if you help these people, you kind of just prevent it already. You kind of prevent the bullshit, right? But know that that's what you would think. You would think that you prevent the bullshit by being nice to people. But in fact, you embellish it. When you step off of your balance beam, everybody's going to want to step on your balance beam. Everybody's going to want to want to take from you. But here's the point. Your balance beam. So if people are inherently, if people are asking you to get on your balance beam instead of theirs, then that means that your balance beam seems easier to be on. When in reality, as you walk farther down the balance beam, it seems to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Your balance beam does seem easier. It's because it widens. It widens, right? Or you're very skilled. So when I say so actually no, there is two different things actually. So the detachment type of piece, the I'm not connected to any of this type of piece, is where it gets thinner and thinner. The line gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, right? Because as you detach from absolutely everything, you're not going to become more prone to attaching to things, but you're going to attach to something that you don't realize. So the philosophers back in the day, such as Socrates, let's use Socrates. He died for him because of what he believed in, right? But it's not a problem. But he died, right? Because and he could have easily avoided it. Possibly he could have easily avoided it, but if he would have just stopped, he could have easily avoided it. If he would have just, I don't remember the exact story, but I know he died because he kept on, right? He kept on trying to. You mean I don't know if he was trying to push his shit on people because I don't think that's what Socrates was doing. I think they really didn't like him because he didn't give a fuck or some shit. And then he didn't give a fuck, so he died, right? So he got so attached to not being attached that his life in this world got harder, right? And now maybe he doesn't deem that as hard. Maybe he doesn't deem it as hard, and he wanted to die. But then that just proves that the line is getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. You just disappear off the balance beam. That's when you die, right? So Socrates just disappeared off the balance beam. He just poof, right? At least in the human perspective, right? He fell off the balance beam. He disappeared, right? His balance beam doesn't even exist anymore. But actually, it does because his balance beam is just there for you to step on, right? But you have to realize, my fault. It's not about you stealing, you taking from him. It's about you making his yours. That's what it's about, my fault. It's about you making it yours, actually making it yours, because what makes it yours? The introduction of yourself, the actual indulgent, not the indulgent, but the inclusion of you. So when you see the niggas that react to YouTube videos and they just sit there, yes, that's the inclusion of them, but their energy isn't really there. They're just sitting there watching a fucking video. In reality, they're just taking money from the nigga that posted the video, animated, recorded, edited the video. They're just taking money. That's why people get copyright strikes and shit like that, right? But when you go to the other side of the balance beam and you're like, okay, I'm going to indulge in both sides equally, then you start to open. But then your balance beam actually gets easier because as you learn to balance on everything, it gets easier. You're learning something that leads to more rather than learning something that leads to thinner aspects of life. So when you detach from things, you can only ever attach to yourself then if you detach from everything else. So how can the balance beam be getting wider, right? Or be getting easier to walk on? But here's the thing, when people see that your balance beam is easy to walk on and you step off of yours and tell them how to teach them how to do their own thing, one, it's either you learned their technique or they stepped on your balance beam and now they affected your balance beam. Because guess what? Once they step on your balance beam, do you think that it changes? I mean, do you think that their balance beam was actually harder, or do you think it was them? So when they step on your balance beam, what happens? Your balance beam gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. So when it was easier for you to walk on it, now you're teaching somebody, you're like, you're completely convoluting my whole shit. You're messing up everything. But then you think, oh, they're not messing everything up. I'm messing everything up because I allowed this. And then you start to spiral into certain things because you allowed it. When you're the one balancing so well, and when you're opening so well, you're connected to everything. You had to allow it. Think about that. You had to allow it. Who else allowed it? If they allowed it, then it was me. Because they're me, right? So when you get into that, you're like, damn, that's when you become the generous person. And you start to over generous. That's the denial of the balance. You you can't help everybody. You can't, right? But you know you can help yourself, right? You can, but you can't help everybody, right? So that's the thing of the balance. Once there's too many people stepping on your balance beam at the same time, or you're trying to put them on your balance beam and you're trying to help them, you're trying to teach them, but the whole point is that they need to balance on their balance beam because it's theirs. They need to take the energy, transform it, and take it to their place, and then make it a actual productive thing instead of just trying to take yours and make it theirs, right? So take yours and make it theirs. Not even make it theirs, but take yours and say it's theirs, actually. So they do no changing. There's no making. There's no creating inside of it. No creating. That's the thing. They don't create. The energy thieves can't create because they've been thieving for so long. The people that take energy, mold it, ball it up, open it out, fold it like origami, um, fucking write it, fucking animate it, record it. Those are the people. Fucking anything. Walk, work it out, whatever. These are the people that create, right? And I mean, not all of them create, but they create, right? And when you got people that are just basically doing nothing, or people that are plagued with negativity, right? Or plagued with complaints of life, right? When I complain about life, I, I've realized that I can't really talk to people because I don't enjoy complaining. I just like explaining things. It's not really about, I'm not mad at the energy thieves because, as I said, bro, it's you. When you realize that you do the same thing to then curate your energy, when you realize that you had to learn from your parents, you had to learn all this other stuff, you had to do all this to curate your energy now, you realize they're doing the same thing as you, but just worse, or they're not doing it the same way. And then are you correct to tell them to do it this way? That's where the dilemma comes in at now though, where you don't know if you're correct. You don't know if you're right to say this because you may be being mean. Now you're not being kind, you're just trying to push what you believe on them. You feel me? That's where you get to never mind. But you try to push what you believe on them and you don't realize that's what you're doing because you're genuinely trying to help, right? But the whole point is that they can't walk on your balance beam forever. You got to get back up there, buddy. Because in the first place, they weren't supposed to ever walk on your balance beam. They weren't ever supposed to step on your shoes. When you say step on my shoes and see how it is, they're never supposed to step in your shoes. Why are you trying to do that? They're never supposed to. Unless that was their intention. If that's not their intention, you don't know their intention, to be quite honest. You only know your intention of stepping in everybody's shoes to make sure, because you would have wanted somebody to help you get on the balance beam, but or somebody to help you even identify the balance beam, but they didn't. And you realize, okay, well, if I was able to learn this, why can't they, right? Why can't they? Why can't they? Why can't they? It's because they don't want to. It's not a need. In reality, when you need something, your body needs food. But when you think about it, you could sit here forever and not eat, but your body still forces you to eat. Why is that? Because you've been eating for years. Your body was force fed by your mom first. So then it needed, I mean, not then it needed nutrition, but for you to be created, you needed to be force fed. And it's not force fed because really if your mom's eating, then you're her right now. So you're not even getting force fed, right? But do we call babies energy thieves? No, because as it's being force fed and it's taking things away from the mom, it's creating something so profound, something incredible, something beyond our comprehension, literally, right? Our comprehension is beyond our comprehension. Like, our mind is beyond our comprehension. Like, no matter how far we get into it, it's nearly infinite. So, how could we ever fully figure it out? We can figure the brain out, but the thing that connects to the brain, unless you're just saying that the mind is just that, and then in that case, then every other animal has consciousness. If it has a brain, it has consciousness, and it has the it. All dogs don't go to heaven, then type shit. You feel me? So you can't help everybody balance on the balance beam. You just have to identify who's actually trying to stand on their balance beam. You walk over to them And yes, you can step off of your balance beam, bro, because here's the thing, you're always supposed to step off your balance beam, bro. But you can help these people balance. But you have to identify after 3, 4 tries, you gotta be able to identify, bro. If the nigga don't want to balance, I'm not gonna hurt your feelings to make you balance. I'm not going to do all this to make you balance, right? But then that's where the problem becomes. You do still have to learn how to detach, even when you're creating that wide balance beam, even when you're creating that ability to fluctuate. That means you have to do everything. You got to understand how to do everything. When you're detaching from the shit, that's the easy part, of my opinion. I mean, it's not easy, but it's easier to just say, fuck you. It's so much easier to just not go make money, to to not care about life past pleasure. It's so easy. Does it feel easy in your mind though? It's easy to go do. But down the line, your mind isn't going to enjoy it. You're not going to enjoy it, and you're going to be forced to do it. Now it's a need. The same way that you were feeding, you were eating, you had to be created. Now you got other things that you, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, attachment issues, certain things. So when you can't, when you can't do the fluctuation, then all those things come. And especially when you can't do the detachment, because all that means is, instead of um instead of actually being connected to everything, you're just attached to everything, which means everything affects you so deeply, and that is the problem. You can fluctuate, but that also means that every time you're passing the balance point, going to the other side, understanding that I can only ever pass this balance point because I'm going to the other side, right? But does that mean that you can never stay in the middle, right? My fault, shit. Does that mean that you can never stay in the middle? So you then have to understand that you're fluctuating, you're not attached, and in a way, you're also not detached to things. You're just like, it's quite literally just being, right? Just being, right? Just existing, right? The way, I mean, if it's the way you want to exist, as long as it doesn't affect other people, I mean, quite honestly, that is the only thing that makes you wrong. When the way that you're existing really, really, really affects other people, right? You, if, and it's not about if you think it affects other people. If you don't have, if you think it affects other people and you don't have the ability to ask these other people, hey, am I affecting you? Then that's not fair to the other people either, because you're just assuming, you're not trying to get truth. Now, if they lie to you, that's where I'm saying the energy stealers. Because when they lie to you, now you're feeling skeptical. Now you're thinking now, because when people lie, they have to connect it every single time. Every time they're going to have to keep connecting the lies every time. So if you're an analysis person, if you know how to analyze shit and you know how to remember specific shit for the specific thing that you're doing right now, and you know how to remember something back in the past for the specific thing that you're doing later. So that means when you're arguing with people, you're going to remember specific things in those arguments. Not even specific things, but you're going to remember a lot of things. When you're debating with people, you're going to remember a lot of things from your past that connects to this said thing, because that's how memories work, right? I'm sorry, I just explained how memories work. My fault. But most people don't seem to have that ability, right? Or they're decepting. But when you're doing that, you understand that the deceptiveness, you're going to start to see the deceptiveness when you start to think back and you're like, well, if this person lied here, once you actually do realize that the person lied, and you can think back to times where you may have thought they lied or they didn't, or where you may have felt something weird and you're like, oh, that explains it, right? Once you see the obviousness, then it's easier to see, right? But when people are purposely deceiving you, it's hard for them too, because they have to keep it up. They have to. They have to keep it up. 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 And now if you're on your balance beam and they're deceiving you, right? You're not really on your balance beam when you're around them, for real, because they're not fitting your morals. They're not fitting what you believe in. They're not fitting the balance, right? Because they may be part of the fluctuation. But if they're one side of the fluctuation and they're always with you, then what is it? If you believe that you're balancing and you're truly trying to balance, and this person is next to you all the time, then they're either lying to you about balancing or you're lying to yourself about wanting to balance, right? So when you're like, oh, help me, you gotta help me, boom, 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 or I gotta help you, boom, 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 actually speak the truth, boom, 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 all this other stuff, people won't do it because the intention isn't to do that. That's your intention. But also, you have to think about yourself. Is it your intention if it didn't happen? Genuinely, it can be your intention. But if you can't identify when to leave it, when to stop helping, when to help yourself, when to push forward, then where do you, how? Right? When do you say no, right? So, like, use relationships for examples. I don't think I'm actually going to push past anymore. I think I'm going to leave it here, actually. I was going to use relationships for examples, but I think if you just think about the energy stealers, you can look at relationships, but if y'all niggas want me to speak about relationships, I mean, I guess, I'm gonna be speaking about a lot of shit, but um, yeah, man, I don't know, nigga, man. If you like the shit, like the video, man. Like the video, man. I don't know. I just plan on talking about a lot of shit, like not a lot of shit, but I plan on doing a lot of shit, like especially in the middle of a recession. Like I don't know, it just seems cool to me to recession farm. I don't know. I don't know, cause being broke, it's like damn. Well, I'm not really broke, but it's like damn, lower class, I guess. You feel me? It's not hard, but when you're looking at everybody and you're like, well, I can have peace with this, but I want more because everybody else needs more. Mm. But you need to. I'm gonna start making more videos. That's about it. Not about it. I'm gonna start making more videos, man. I'm gonna be with my people. But I don't know. I'm gonna start doing some shit. But it's gonna be a lot of mixed up shit. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not choosing no real niche, like, cause this right here was some like philosophy, not even philosophy type shit, but this is like some nearly spiritual type shit. But I'm not even spiritual. Like I'm just talking about energy thieves, and this I just have a lot of my toes in a lot of different shit, and I kind of wanna. I guess if you just want to find a bunch of random shit, like you might see a vlog when you come here, I guess. But and I was always looking like I'm gonna speak about a lot of other shit later. But yeah,